Hello and welcome to the Full Send Half Mast Podcast, episode 19 here. Today is Tuesday, June 6th. Today we're going to talk about the races this weekend with NASCAR over at Gateway, Worldwide Technology Raceway, also at Portland for the Xfinity Series, Indy NXT, and the IMSA Series over there at the Detroit Street Course, as well as Formula 1 and 2 over there at Spain for the Spanish Grand Prix. We also got a bunch of news to get into, a penalty out of the NASCAR world, a lot of preparation here for the 24-hour of Le Mans this weekend. Super excited about that, as well as the NASCAR races there at Sonoma. And we'll give you our picks, previews. We'll also be doing our Driver of the Week, Bonehead of the Week, and our Radioactive of the Week segments that you guys all seem to enjoy. So we'll just get right into this. First off, how are you doing tonight, Tom?
Oh man, I'm doing pretty good, man. It's getting some nice weather where I'm at, and it's making for some pretty good days, even better nights when I get to sit here and talk a little bit about racing.
Heck yeah, I love talking about racing with you, and we got a lot to talk about here tonight. Excited for the summer months, getting nice weather out there as well. It's a great observation you brought up there. I'm really excited about the summer. Alrighty, first off, before we get right into it, we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor here, W Energy Blends. W Energy, introducing NeuroFactor, an all-natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you with energy, laser focus, and fast reflexes. Provides concentration with important amino acids and vitamins without the crash that ordinary canned energy drinks just cannot provide. Try amazing flavors such as Dragonade, Dub Sludge, Galaxy Grenade, and my personal favorite, Beach and Peach. Buy the starter pack today, including 2 flavors and a shake cup for an extremely low price. Follow the link in the description and use promo code DEGABOYS for 10% off your order. Thanks to Dubby for their continued support of the Dega Boys broadcasting. Alrighty. let's get right into this here with the news. So last week, Wednesday, after we had already done the podcast, reports came out of the SHR camp there with the number 14 team. They got an L3 penalty, which is the highest penalty you can receive in NASCAR these days, with 120 driver owner points being docked from that team, as well as crew chief Johnny Klossmeyer getting fined $250,000 and a 6-race suspension for counterfeit parts. So that's a big penalty. What are your thoughts on that whole SHR penalty?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what they did. I don't even think they've come out with what they've done yet. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I haven't seen anything about it. So I am curious to know what they did, because that's a pretty big fine. Yeah,
it's huge fine. I mean, they said it was counterfeit parts, so I'm not sure if it was something to do with quality control, which is what they mentioned here was quality control. But yeah, it's just a big penalty. This pretty much eliminates Chase Briscoe here from the playoffs, I would assume. Now that he's in a must win, it's not like he has to be in the top 30 in points, but this pretty much eliminates him. And then, I mean, the big $250,000 fine there for Klossmeyer. I mean, hopefully he's got some good insurance policy for that one.
Yeah, right.
So next, motorsports games, very popular in making racing games, like the NASCAR Heat Series, has announced that they're making a Le Mans Ultimate Edition coming out in December 2023. It's going to be a PC-only game, so that will be interesting. And then also, the Money in the Bank 150 is coming up here Wednesday for Eric Jones and Carson Hosfar will be running that at Berlin Speedway super late model race. So that'll be interesting. We'll have to keep you updated on the results there. And as well, we have a little bit of a rumor going around here out of the SHR camp with Michael McDowell potentially to SHR.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this. I sincerely hope it is a rumor. I don't think McDowell's going to gain much by going to SHR at the moment. I think that Front Row Motorsports is doing such a fantastic job right now, and they have so much momentum rolling with them that I think it almost be a detriment to have McDowell go to SHR. I'm kind of conflicted about it.
Yeah, I'm conflicted on it too. I just don't think that this is a great move for Michael McDowell here to jump to SHR. We've seen how terrible they've been this year, and it really doesn't seem to be getting any better. So, if I'm him, I'm looking at Front Row and how good he's been doing, which we'll talk about here a little bit later. Yeah. I think it's just you want to stay at Front Row here. So, very interesting on that.
I agree.
Front. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll have to keep you noted on that if we get any more details there. Also, another notable, as we mentioned, the 24-hour Le Mans. We got a lot to talk about here later on. But first off, Garage 56 entry for NASCAR won the pit stop challenge there. I mean, this doesn't shock me one bit. You've got super athletes, professional athletes who pit these cup cars on a regular basis. Hendrick obviously brought probably their A team to go pit this car this week at Le Mans. And they go out and just absolutely dominate the field in this pit stop challenge. Is that fair? I mean,
I don't know. I know that most of these guys, they're college athletes coming straight out of college and then going straight to training for pit stops. I'm going to be honest with you. I know a lot of people who've ran like the 24 Hours of Daytona and ran a couple WEX races and IMSA schedule and everything, and those guys are far from athletes, so I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, and I would say that Hendrick definitely brought the A+ team to go over there and show them, how the Americans do it.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious how they promoted this as like, we won something in Le Mans, because obviously they're in the non-classification entry. So it's like, now they got something to put their hand to, like, we succeeded in Le Mans, hitting against Joe Schmo's team out there with Penske or Porsche or whatever's out there these days. So yeah, it's pretty awesome. Also out of Le Mans, we also had 6 teams in the LMP2 class get docked 20 minutes of practice in FP1 there for putting front and rear ride height sensors on their cars. I mean, that is crazy. Is that unprecedented, or have we seen this before?
I don't know the ins and outs of that. We did have some sort of ride height sensors and tire heat sensors while we were running an IndyCar, but I don't know. I'm not too sure about about these guys. Obviously, it's you can't do it, but I don't know much about it.
Yeah, I not much. I just read the article and went through it, and I guess a few of the other teams were a little disappointed that they only got docked 20 minutes. They felt like that's just not fair enough considering the amount of data they gained off those ride height sensors. Yeah. So, I mean, it is kind of an unfair advantage. Not really that big of a penalty, but again, it is the FIA, and we know what they have done with their penalties in the past, whether you like them or hate them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The ride height sensors, you can gain a lot of good and useful data off of that. So 20 minutes is kind of a slap on the wrist, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Especially with like 7 practice sessions. I mean, you're losing 20 in the first one.
Yeah.
Big whoop. Not that big of a deal. Yeah. Also, another entry for the World Endurance Championship and IMSA Racing Series here with Proton Porsche LMDH entry here with drivers Bruni and Ticknell. They will be making their season debut in IMSA starting at Road America in August, and then the World Endurance Championship at Monza in July. So the hypercar era of the World Endurance Championship, IMSA sports car racing is just growing. They're going to be running the Porsche 963s. So awesome to see another entry there. Super exciting time for sports car racing worldwide right now. Alrighty, that covers the news of the week so far. We'll get right into the races. This weekend we saw the trucks in the Cup over there at Worldwide Technology. We saw Xfinity at Portland, Indy NXT, and the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Series there at the Detroit Street Course there, as well as F1 and F2 at Spain. We'll cover those next. We'll start off with the truck race, the Toyota 200, presented by CK Power there at Worldwide Technology Raceway. We saw Ty Majeski on pole. We saw a couple early cautions, one including Malozzi. I haven't heard of this guy before, but he stalled in one of the Rayom brothers trucks there at lap 29, really changed the stage. Enfinger was able to stay out on old tires, was able to win stage 1 over Majeski, who had pitted at that pit break there. So Enfinger kind of stole that stage. Then we saw an incident on lap 57 when Jack Wood got spun off the nose of Chris Hacker there. Really interesting incident. He ended up spinning, getting into Norm Benning, tagged the wall. Really ruined his day in one of his select starts that he gets with KBM. Then we saw Stuart Friesen cycle to the lead on lap 63 and ended up still in stage 2. And then at the end of stage 2 is when the race really kind of began. Enfinger, after pulling that strategy out in stage 1, stays out here in stage 2, ends up inheriting the lead. And then, we have breaking news here from the Haley Deegan ThorSport camp. Let's let it roll. This is breaking right here.
On new tires was the front, and it didn't get free, and even on old tires. And I drove it in hard into one, expecting a shove, or expecting a shove up the track, but I didn't, so which is good. Okay. So I'm super happy with it. Okay.
All right, moving on. Caution on lap 87 when Haley Deegan was spun by Nick Sanchez there, giving her a shove down the front straightaway, and he completely kind of sent her into the corner. They didn't really show on TV what led to that incident, but they put all the blame on Nick Sanchez. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on this one, Tom, or is this just kind of a racing incident? Was Sanchez at fault? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, whatever happened in turn 1 over there, just one of those things where let's just go to the restart.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so later on in this race, we had another caution, lap 35, and we had another pit sequence here with different strategies. Zane Smith ends up staying out here on this strategy to inherit the lead. And then him and Majeski battled it out there with about 6 to go, made contact, both go into the wall. Probably Majeski easily best truck of the race. I don't know if you'd agree with that or not, but he was so dominant, was able to just pass just about anybody, led a lot of laps, didn't win any of the stages. And then Rex going for the win. Just a real devastating moment for him and for Zane, who pulled that incredible strategy for track position. And then Grant Enfinger. I think he was your dark horse pick, actually, this week. So that was pretty cool that your dark horse ended up pulling it out, getting a second win of the season here, and now kind of solidifying himself as a championship favorite. I mean, what are your thoughts on the truck race?
Yeah, so Zane had a fantastic strategy going on. He was pretty much, I would say, it would have been a very good battle between Majeski and Zane if Majeski wasn't so aggressive going into turn 3. I think that Majeski probably still could have won. There was still a chance that Zane could have won, but overall, it was a pretty decent race. I thought the ending was very exciting to see Majeski going through the field again and then finally getting back up to the front and making that move. Unfortunately, not working out for him. But then we see Enfinger just, get really lucky and, I hate to say it, but back into a win. But a win is a win, so, Enfinger survived. He was there at the end and was there when it counted.
Yeah, and you'd love to see guys like Enfinger who are pretty much like you universally considered at the end of their career and just finding ways to win. It's just an awesome storyline. Yep. Heartbreaker for Majeski. We've noted it. He's been so consistent all year with these multiple top 5 finishes. And when he does look like he's going to win, something goes wrong, whether it was at Kansas when him and Raja made contact on the front stretch. This week, going into the wall with Zane going for the win. It's not a matter of if he can win, it's a matter of when he can win, and I think he's going to win a lot. He showed a lot last year in the Final Four, was kind of the sleeper to get there. I think this year he's going to get there in flying colors, and I think he's going to be a championship threat down the line. So keep your eyes out on Majeski. All right, next we'll move on to the Xfinity race, the Pacific Office Automation 147 at Portland. They ran there last year in the rain. This year, no chances of rain. It was a great race. We'll get into it here. Sheldon Creed gets pole here. Didn't want to pick him. Unfortunately, gets pole here. Fortunate, maybe unfortunate. I don't know how you want to look at it. I don't know how I want to look at it, but he qualifies on pole. Lap 1, turn 1. We saw an incident here with Chandler Smith and Connor Mosack. We'll let the footage roll. This is a very interesting moment in this race. Alrighty, so you could see lap 1, turn 1, Connor Mosack sends Chandler Smith around. I am going to personally nominate him as a bonehead move of the week here. Turn 1, lap 1 of a race, and you're going to send somebody into the corner? I mean, Connor Mosack, I know he's got sports car experience. He's a pretty experienced road racer trying to make it in NASCAR, and then he goes and turns like one of the guys racing for points lap 1 for like 10th. I mean, what are your thoughts on that incident?
He was pushing hard way too early. We actually almost saw the same move that John Hunter Nemechek put on Sheldon Creed going through there, but Creed saved it. But regardless, unnecessary.
Yeah, extremely unnecessary. That is what we call a lack of self-awareness moment in racing, and it happens quite often. Yeah. And it wasn't the only time this weekend that it happened. We'll show you more instances of this later on. Also, we had a huge battle there between Sheldon Creed and John Hunter Nemechek right there at the end of stage 1. We had them battling. Creed moved it was Nemechek that moved Creed, and then Custer ended up stealing the stage. Then we saw, stage 1 was when Nemechek won over Creed because they got that bumper contact. It was pretty exciting finish. We saw the same thing again stage 2 when we saw Nemechek actually spin Creed out instead of racing hard like they did in stage 1. He lost his cool and absolutely dumped Creed. So again, Creed can't buy a break, runs up front, everything falls apart. Just the worst luck this guy has. Custer actually ended up winning the stage in a drag race with Nemechek. So Nemechek sending Creed still didn't win the stage. Unfortunate for him there, or fortunate if you're like Redemption, I guess. Later on in the race with about 20 to go, Creed caught Nemechek back and ends up dumping him, which was 100% justified. I mean, he didn't intentionally put him in the wall or anything, but he did get him in a slower corner, which was extremely justified. You felt bad for Creed at this point. It kind of felt like a relief to see this happen. You're like, finally, Creed is just like kind of putting it to somebody that does him wrong, you know? And if you thought the bad luck was over here, we had a late race caution with 4 to go for debris. Creed was running up front. Parker Kligerman, Allgaier all up front. Green, white checker finish. PK sends it into turn 1, into Allgaier, into Creed, who was on the outside line, just killed Creed's race. Spins out. I don't even remember where he finished, but it was just unfortunate. That close to a win, and it's just week after week after week, it just cannot buy a break. I mean, what are your thoughts on that last restart there on that green, white checkered?
Well, I think just in general, John Hunter Nemechek made himself look like an absolute bonehead that whole race. Not only did he try to manipulate the end of the stages by dumping people, but he also got into his teammates of Sammy Smith and was just absolutely, hip checking him. And it turned into this whole big deal of John Hunter Nemechek. What the heck are you doing, man? You obviously are extremely fast, but we saw a lot of Truck Series-esque driving in that race from John Hunter Nemechek, and it was, quite frankly, it was embarrassing. He was obviously fast, but I mean, man, like, not necessarily. He could have won the race. He easily could have won the race, but here we are. He's in the. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty good race. Like you said, again, Creed just can't get the freaking luck, man. He just can't get it. You can throw a golden horseshoe at him, or a diamond or platinum or something, and it's gonna go right around him. I don't know. God's nature right now just does not want him to win. Although he did not win, it was good to see Cole Custer win because of all of the lows that he's been in the Cup Series. He gets demoted, comes back to the Xfinity Series. You could say that he struggled a little bit, probably warming back up to the car. But besides the point, he capitalizes this weekend and gets the win. And I think that is a great storyline for the Xfinity Series in Portland this weekend.
Yeah, it's great. I like the point, especially with Custer. Custer is definitely needed that. That was a big win for his confidence, I think. And he was so fast absolutely. All day. So if it wasn't Creed to win, good thing it was Custer here. I just don't know if Creed's day is going to come. I really don't. I just keep staying confident, and it just doesn't work out. I just don't even know what to say anymore. He is just the ultimate.
I think we should just stop talking about him.
I think so too. I'm not picking him
every
again.
time. It's
I'm not writing him off because I like him, but I'm not. I think it's just like you said, it's time that we just quit talking about him for a few weeks, and then we'll come back and reevaluate in a month. All right, so that pretty much summarizes the Xfinity race there at Portland. It was a great race, like Tom said. Congratulations, Cole Custer, getting the win there and getting into championship form, maybe. All right. Also on Saturday, we had the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series here, the Chevy Sports Car Classic. And really the only thing I want to talk about here is really the winner, which we'll talk about here in a second. But I want to show this awesome clip that we have. One of the best, coolest looking wrecks I've ever seen. So we'll let that footage play.
Here, even though it's not for position, watch for that blue Mercedes to make a move down here into the brake zone. Maglia protects.
I tell you what, oh, McGuinness up and over the top. That is a huge accident in turn 3.
That's Van der Steur. He drives away, but there has to be damage to that BMW.
Oh my goodness, on his first lap out. Massive crash at the turn 3 hairpin.
That was a wild ride.
Oh, man. First off, I just want to say, Lee Diffie is just awesome. He could literally make sweeping the floor exciting. That dude gets you on the edge of your seat with whatever they're doing. Like, it doesn't matter. He makes anything exciting. You might not even care about what's going on, but like when he starts getting into his animations, you're like, I gotta watch. Like this is wild.
Yeah.
Your hairs stand up. You get goosebumps. It's just, yeah, that wreck was insane.
Absolutely. I agree with the Lee Diffie comment. I think he is the greatest announcer of pretty much all time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any other announcer that can bring excitement to a race like Lee Diffie. I mean, we're talking about a pilot challenge, a GT4 cars at Detroit. Like nobody follows that. But weren't you at the edge of your seat listening to Lee Diffie just scream into the mic? That is awesome. That guy rocks. I like that guy a lot.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then also, I want to talk about the battle there at the end. We saw a battle there between Morad and McAleer there with about 33 minutes to go. They battled for probably 10, 15 minutes just trying to find a way. Morad finally got by McAleer and ended up taking the win, which was a pretty cool moment. But that last, like, if you guys haven't seen that race, go watch from like minutes 35 to like 20 and just watch it. It's just some of the most exciting racing you'll see. Just an incredible battle. Just trying to find a way around at the Detroit Street Course, which we'll talk about more here with the Indy cars. Our thoughts and opinions on that. That pretty much summarizes the Michelin Pilot race there. I just want to touch on real quick the Formula 2 races there at Barcelona Grand Prix. We had the sprint race. We saw Cordeal on the pole of the sprint race. It was a very rainy start. We saw Vesti take the lead lap 2, and he went on to win the sprint race. And then in the feature, we saw Behrman on pole, which is Vesti's teammate, and he ends up going from pole to victory there in the feature race. Not much excitement out of that for Formula 2, which is rare.
Well, he actually won the race.
Yeah. Did I say that wrong? My bad.
No. I'm saying we didn't have a Baku Part 2.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, exactly. He didn't get robbed by the FIA. I see what you're saying. Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, so both of those teammates won the sprint and the feature respectively. Next, I want to talk about the Indy NXT. This was just exciting. They put them on Peacock, so if you don't have Peacock, you can't see them, unfortunately. But these are some great races. The Indy NXT this season is just hilarious, in my opinion. It's absolute gold. If you're not watching, you gotta tune in. It's funny. Detroit Grand Prix, they did a doubleheader, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. The Saturday race, we saw Foster qualify on pole. And then we saw just an absolute insane start. I mean, I wish Lee Diffie was calling this.
I want to add to that just 1 second and just try to explain how amazing Foster was in qualifying. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So he was doing, his first round qualifyings, and this man smacked the wall with his right rear. I mean, he smacked it so hard, you could visibly see the upper A-arm like this, right? Like a roof on a house. That man went to go put it on pole by over a half second with a bent upper A-arm. This guy was absolutely on fire this weekend, and he was doing it with a broken car. That's absolutely unheard of, first off. Second off, what an amazing display of talent that he put on as well, But that's all going to go to crap here in a second.
Yeah, we'll let this footage roll. All right.
2, let's go from Motown. Foster gets the early jump, single file right behind him. Side by side, back in the pack, heading into this 35-mile-an-hour zone, and Foster gets turned around from behind. McElroy might have got into him. We are yellow right from the go, and the pole sitter is backwards.
Louis Foster, nothing he could have done there getting set up. Tried to figure out if he can get that damaged car for Andretti Autosport back to pit lane.
Alrighty. So, yep, that pretty much put the nail in the coffin for his entire weekend. Just wasn't the same after this. Qualifies pole. McAlera ends up getting a penalty there, stop and go, which is good because you can't turn someone into turn 1 and get no repercussions. And they gave him the ultimate penalty, right? The stop and go just ended his chance of winning. So it took out your two front runners. So who inherits the lead here? Reese Gold, a rookie in the Indy NXT, somebody that doesn't run very consistent at all in this series or up front ever, inherits the lead here and leads the race all the way until we have 7 laps to go. And then Nolan Siegel, the 18-year-old who's not even done with high school, he ends up passing him there with 7 laps to go, takes the lead, looks like he's going to win this race, ends up having a gearbox break, like 2 corners from the finish. It was insane. He's just way ahead, like 5 seconds ahead at this point. Gearbox breaks. He's trying to coast it across the line. Reese Gold ends up repassing him, ends up winning the race. Just a huge moment for Gold in general, just not giving up, being there where it matters. Like you said, with Enfinger backing into a win, the only way you can ever back into a win is you have to put yourself in position to back into the win. And he maintained that second position. And when everything went apart there with Nolan Siegel, he took advantage of it. So that was an awesome result there for him. That pretty much summarizes the race there. The second race was on Sunday. We'll talk about that here. We saw Foster on pole again. And on first lap of the race, he runs wide and allows Nolan Siegel to go by him. It sticks him. He goes from first to third turn 1. Nolan Siegel, who had the gearbox issue the first day, ends up taking the lead, and he led pretty much the entire race. He actually did lead the entire race. We saw a caution with Jagger Jones there. He lost control. We saw Simpson have a little crash there, but Nolan Siegel gets complete redemption for gearbox issues, ends up dominating this race, wins it. Big moment. I think it's his first Indy NXT win, so big moment for him getting that redemption. So 2 great storylines out of the Indy NXT this week. 2 great races. Just everything you want to see from this event. I guess next we'll talk about the Formula 1 Spanish Grand Prix. There's not much to talk about. Verstappen qualified pole. Sergio Perez, again, just a terrible qualifying effort. Had to start, I think, 11th in this race. Really just had no chance to win from there. We saw Charles Leclerc and Logan Sargent will start from the pit lane with their issues in qualifying. Lap 1, Lando Norris qualified P4 here. Ends up getting nose damage there, P1 with contact with Hamilton. That killed his race. He was done at that point. Takes a great qualifying effort and just goes to the dumps right there, lap 1 contact. Pretty much everybody in this race went on a 2-stop strategy. In the pre-race, they were talking who's going to do 3, who's going to do 2, what are the tire strategies going to be. Everybody cycled it to a 2-stop strategy here. So didn't really do a whole lot to the race itself. Verstappen ends up winning. It's his 40th career Grand Prix victory in Formula 1. Also, we saw Hamilton and Russell, both Mercedes, end up getting on the podium this week. And Verstappen ends up getting the fastest lap. And a notable here, Lance Stroll with the P6 finish. We've been bagging on him all year. We don't think he has the talent. But when somebody does something good, you have to give them a shout out, even if they've been bad and you have a different opinion of them. Results are results. You got to acknowledge the result. P6 here for Stroll. Also, I believe I read that Hamilton and Russell, the Mercedes cars, were getting inspected by the FIA for potential modifications to their cars. Have you heard anything on that front?
No.
Yeah, I read something. I don't know how true it is. That's why I didn't really want to get too in depth with it, but I heard that there was potential modifications, illegal modifications done on the Mercedes cars for the speed that they had. So I don't know. We'll have to stay tuned to that.
One thing I want to say is Mercedes has been talking about these upgrades coming out, and they've been hyping them up. Their first round was Baku. They didn't do they didn't do that well. But then every race after that, single development has been coming out. And I think it all just came together here in Spain. And I even took Russell as a dark horse. I thought Russell was going to beat Hamilton, but I think that Mercedes kind of prioritized Hamilton because of all the rumors going around right now of Hamilton possibly going to Ferrari and replacing Sainz. So that's another thing to talk about. Mercedes and Hamilton, or Total Wolff and Hamilton, they're having discussions about money for next year. Hamilton is reportedly not that happy with the money situation. And apparently, Ferrari is willing to give him everything he wants. So that's very interesting. We'll see what happens there. But it is good, it's a good turnaround for Mercedes to come out and kind of look in their old form. They finally ditched those no side pod concept, and went with a side pod that's close to a Ferrari, I believe. And the result speaks for itself. And this race was really not even about Verstappen. It was all about the woes of Aston and the triumphs of Mercedes. So, very surprising to see where Aston finished this weekend. Not very surprised with Mercedes because they have been hyped up with all of their upgrades coming out, but still, I did not foresee Aston doing that bad.
Yeah, that's a great point with Aston. And then another person that I wanted to mention here was Sainz himself, because I picked him as my dark horse. It's his home Grand Prix. He looked great. I mean, he was fast in all the practice sessions, qualifies P2, and then his strategy and his pace were just terrible. He pitted before other people, so then he had to get off strategy with the other guys that were running longer strategy on the hard tires, and they put him back a couple spots there to the Mercedes, and then just didn't have the pace at the end to regain that time that he had lost off the tire strategy that they chose. And it was just a terrible display here for Sainz. I just don't think I'm going to take him anymore here for the rest of the season, because I just don't think he has the driving ability to get the results done here. And I shouldn't have picked him. I just had a feeling that this was the week and everything looked promising, and then the green flag flies and then it just falls apart for him. So terrible for Sainz here. And then another notable I wanted to make here was Verstappen testing the FIA there, just hitting all of the exceeding all the track limits everywhere on the track, and then just absolutely getting yelled at by his team, and he's just ignoring them. He's like, "I'm Verstappen, bro." And then he literally on the last 2 laps, he went faster than he had went all day long to get the fastest lap of the race, and didn't even go off track one time. He was literally making a conscious effort to stay well within the lines, and he still went faster than he did all day. So that's just Verstappen. I guess my point here is Verstappen this weekend proved that this world title is his, and unless he has absolute catastrophe in multiple races, it's his world championship. I feel like he almost pretty much locked it up this weekend. So just big there.
I agree.
And Perez after the race went by and talked to Verstappen, and that was the most dejected I've seen a race car driver in a while. And he looked beat. He looked defeated. Like there's nothing that Perez is gonna do. His fight for the title is pretty much gone. So, and then also, like you said, with Aston not doing good, also not good for Alonso, who we've been looking at as a dark horse, maybe sneak in there, but it just isn't looking like that either. So, just dominance there for Verstappen. Congratulations to him. 40th Grand Prix victory. That's crazy. Alrighty, we'll get to the IndyCar. Actually, let's go to the points real quick for F1 while we're talking about it. Formula 1 points. Max Verstappen, like I said, 170 points. Perez is 53 points back, so that's like multiple races back at this point. Alonso 71 back, so maybe there's a chance Alonso can get up to second in points. It's not a far reach there. And then the constructors, we got Red Bull way out ahead, obviously, but Mercedes passed Aston here because both Mercedes got podiums. Both Aston 6th and 7th, which was good, but that's what they needed was Stroll to run better, but they didn't need them both to run 6th and 7th. They needed them both to be on the podium. So that's unfortunate for them, as now they are 13 points behind, or 17 points behind Mercedes now in the constructors title. So we'll have to keep tabs on that as their next race is in Canada in 2 weeks. All right, so now the IndyCar, the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix of the Detroit Street Course here. I guess the first thing I want to note here about this race before we get into everything is the dual pit lanes. I know me and Tom noticed that at the beginning of the week. We noticed the track layout. We saw the pit lanes where they did dual-sided pit lanes. And I'll talk about my initial thought. You talk about your initial thought, and then we'll talk about how we think about it now. So my initial thought is I was a big fan of it. If anybody's to try this, it's IndyCar. IndyCar would be the only people that could ever try something like this. And my initial thought was, you know what? Let's give it a try. I know it might not be practical, it might not work out long term, but I'm excited that they're going to try something different. And maybe this is something that could work out. What are your thoughts on the dual-sided pit lane initially?
Yeah, initially it was, this is going to be a catastrophe, where we've seen, I've seen a lot of on-road or on-pit road accidents happen. We saw it in the Indy 500 with people, peeling out of their pit boxes, and then luckily it wasn't around the cruise. I mean, it happened towards the end of pit road, but besides the point, these drivers get real excited when they're exiting the pit box, and that's the first thing I thought of, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So now my thoughts after seeing it play out is I still am a huge fan of it. I really enjoyed it when they had plenty of room on pit entrance where they could both peel out and do their own thing. Especially under green flag racing is where it works the best. So they were able to have enough room to go out. There was plenty wide enough on each lane so that they weren't interfering with each other. And they were able to drive off, blend to that blend line, get back on the track, and everything just worked smoothly. And I think this is something that was a success, and I think I would like to see it further on down the line. What are your thoughts now that you've seen it play out?
It was a success. Yeah, I as long as nothing bad happens, why not change it up? Nothing bad happened. They showed a very good display of a change that they decided to make, and it worked. So why not use it more? If it works and it makes it more exciting, full send. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. And like to my point too is I don't think this is something they should do at every single track or every time they go to a street course. But I mean, every once in a while under a blue moon, if it works, let's do it. Let's try it. Let's add some excitement to IndyCar, especially with how exciting IndyCar has been this season. And I guess before we get right into this race, what are your thoughts on the Detroit street course here? I mean, I am not a huge fan of it. I think it is just kind of a dud of a track, in my opinion. Just too narrow, too short. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, at the beginning of this race, I was very skeptical, and what I was seeing on track was just kind of... I felt like it just wasn't desirable. But the further we got into the race, the more we saw, like... we saw variables come into play, right? So we saw pit strategies, we saw push to pass come into play, we saw very limited passing zones, but when people were fast, it was in the non-passing zones, and then when people were going into the passing zones, they couldn't pass. So that I felt like towards the end of that race, it got a lot more exciting, and I'm a little mixed on where I'm gonna rate this race on if it was a bust or not, just because of that fact. But I genuinely think that when they show up next year to run this race again, it's going to be better, and it's going to be better than what we witnessed last weekend. I still enjoyed it. It was still a pretty good race. But I think next year is going to be the real winner.
Right. And as we'll talk about the race here in a second, I just want to say, I think that this was a product of how exciting the IndyCar is and not necessarily the track, on my opinion, of this race. So keep that note at the end here. So Palou gets the pole just on an absolute tear so far this season. Probably should have had the Indy 500 if he didn't get that incident with VK and get so set back. So just unfortunate for him there. But he rebounds, gets pole here. Collision, lap one. Lee Diffie at his best. We got to show it. This is great. Alrighty.
We expected this street course race to be eventful.
Oh, it's
Rahal
right.
went
It's
in by
not this
himself,
clip.
And I think Peterson
My bad,
may have
everybody.
got surprised. Wait for the rest.
We will play that here in a minute. Okay, I did not get the clip prepared for this lap one incident here. But lap one, Lee Diffie at his best. Again, like it was in the Mission Pilot, we saw Callum Ilott climb Kyle Kirkwood's car lap one. He was like, everybody's going to make it in clean. And then all of a sudden, like, no, we're not. Because you see Callum Ilott's car just climbs the back of Kirkwood's car there and just absolutely wrecks. It was a great moment of entertainment there for the start of this race. Now not much action from there. We saw Palou lead most of the early stints there. Pato O'Ward ends up stalling here on lap 36, ends up losing a lot of track time, a lot of track position here. And then he had a crash on lap 43, trying to get around the Ferrucci car there for AJ Foyt Racing. Just overdriving, trying to make up the time that he lost when he stalled. Poor incident there. Then we saw Stingray Robb end up having his incident. I think he's a bust in IndyCar, but then again, he's a rookie. It's hard to judge a rookie. It seems week after week. This guy is just at one point or another off the track or wrecked or anything. It's like, what is happening? It's just, he's a guaranteed caution. He's a guaranteed entertainment factor. So, during this caution though, we had what we just precursored there on that clip. Graham Rahal. We mentioned it. Just a terrible month of May. And it continues over into June. Under caution, this man wrecks. We'll let the footage roll and we'll talk about it.
We expected this street course race to be eventful. Rahal went in by himself. And I think Peterson may have got surprised. Wait for the red Sexton Properties car. Boom. Power with it.
So, I guess my initial thought here, I missed it live because I got up to go do something at this moment because it was under caution. I come back and I get an instant text from Tom. He's like, Graham Rahal is an idiot or something to that effect. And I'm like, what did he, because it was still under yellow. And I was like, what did he do? And I see him going off on a hook. I'm like, did he wreck under yellow? And you just instantly like, yes, dude. And I was like, bonehead move of the week. Instantly. There's nothing else you could say.
I mean, this man wrecked under caution. And he didn't just like, it wasn't just like a skim. I mean, he took himself out of the race. It's just, he's lost it. He's just lost it. He just doesn't have it anymore. You know, and this isn't the first season. He was like this last year too. And then the year before that, you saw his decline. You know, so if you were Chip Ganassi and you had Graham Rahal running for you and he does something like that, what do you do?
Yeah, exactly.
This man, he's racing because it's his race team.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's just, that moment right there was the Jimmy Johnson 2018 Roval in a nutshell. Jimmy Johnson was 2017, had that big wreck at Pocono and really set him back. And then had that 2018 race where he just lost his mind, couldn't make the move on Truex, wrecked them both. That was like the last true great moment of Jimmy Johnson. That was where you knew it was going downhill before that, but that was the switch where you're like, it's over. And really the month of May for Rahal was like that Pocono wreck for Jimmy Johnson. And then this wreck in the caution was Jimmy Johnson's 2018 Roval.
It was the nail in the coffin.
Yep.
I have no confidence in Graham anymore.
Yeah,
unfortunately, it's got to be like that.
Yeah, he's done. And I think that, and even in his post-race interview, he really blamed himself and had nothing else to say. I mean, but really, what else could he do? He knew he messed up. And unfortunate with these drivers that were so good or so great for so long that just hit these moments in their career, it's hard to know that you're in that moment. You know, it's kind of like seeing an old person that's going through like Alzheimer's or something. Like they don't know that they're having these issues or they're not self-aware of it, but then it just, everybody around you can see it. And that's, I mean, poor Graham Rahal, right? But obviously this is going to nominate you for a bonehead move of the week. You can't wreck under yellow.
Somebody's got to tell him, you know. I'll tell him.
We're telling him right now, unfortunately. Hopefully.
Hey,
we know Boyer listens. I wonder if he listens too.
If anybody knows Rahal, send him the link. I'll tell him.
Alrighty. So after this incident, we have Will Power actually took the lead on this next restart. An amazing move. You and me were both texting that this time. This was just great move. I mean, he just sends it around him in a passing zone or on the long straight, gets around him and kind of took off. Like he didn't just take the lead, he gapped Palou like crazily. And he ended up leading his race for about 11 laps until Palou re-caught him back, the most dominant car all day. Palou re-gets the lead here from Power. And it really was a race between Palou and Power all day. Palou was just that much better than Power. And I don't think it was that his car was that much better than Power. I think this was a defining moment in Alex Palou's career here. This was awesome display of just dominance. And we'll talk more about that here in a second because I would definitely want to get Tom's opinion on this. I'll just summarize the rest of the race. We had multiple cautions here at the end. Romain Grosjean, 20 laps to go here, ends up getting into the wall. Again, just like Sheldon Creed here, he is the Sheldon Creed of IndyCar. He just cannot find a way to win a race. Just anything and everything that can go wrong for this guy, it will. And it will happen to him. It's just unfortunate for Romain Grosjean. He is just due for a win so bad, but the racing gods themselves don't want to see Romain Grosjean win an IndyCar race. So unfortunate. So we see some more cautions late. You had Malukas stall. We had a restart here with 9 to go. This is where it got exciting. You saw Will Power get a great restart. He goes to the outside of Palou going into turn 3, and he goes to do an undercut underneath Palou, get the run off of that corner. Wasn't clear of Scott Dixon behind him. They both make contact. I think Will Power got 4-tire airborne there. It was pretty crazy save that he did there. Unfortunately, Palou was able to drive away from there after that, and Will Power finished behind him, and Alex Palou wins his second race of the season here. Redemption from the Indy 500 flop, and kind of takes grasp of the championship here. Pretty much your championship favorite at this point. What are your thoughts on Palou's weekend, the IndyCar season for Palou, and I mean just his driving ability in general?
Yeah, he is just going on just an absolute tear right now. If you don't think that Alex Palou is the hottest driver, is the championship favorite in the IndyCar series, then you're watching something else, because Alex Palou is absolutely the number one driver in that series right now and an absolute favorite to win the championship. This man is on an absolute tear.
Yeah, and with that, we're just going to talk about the points, and the points will show everything that you need to know right here. So Palou is your points leader at 273 points, 51-point lead over second Marcus Ericsson. And
That's
then third is Joseph Newgarden. He's 70 back, and he won the Indy 500. So these two guys finished 1-2 in the Indy 500, and they're still that far behind Palou from a double point event. So that should tell you event. How dominant Palou is this season. I think this weekend we learned, like I said with Verstappen and Palou are just on a different level. The rest of the competition is down here, and they're just up here. They're elevated right now, and they're young superstars, and they are just proving it week in and week out. So, I mean, I don't know what else I could say.
I want to say one thing. I think it is absolutely insane from where 2 years ago Palou wanted to leave and go to McLaren, and then the lawsuits ensued, and now he's back at Ganassi, and he is just tearing it up.
Yeah, just tearing it up. It's impressive. So, is there anything else you want to add to the IndyCar race, or any more thoughts on the Detroit Street Course, or anything in general with this race?
Yeah, so I think the spiciest bit of this weekend was Rosenqvist versus Rossi.
Oh, yeah.
And that whole debacle there. Because at the end there, Rosenqvist basically hip-checked Rossi and just killed his car with, I think it was like a half a lap to go, 1 lap to go, something like that. So some big drama happened out of IndyCar right now with teammates, and you don't see that. You don't see that a lot.
Yeah, that was a great battle there for a little bit. Just got, like you said, I completely forgot about that, but that was exciting part of that race. Wow.
Yeah.
It's when you watch like 8 races a week and you start to kind of blend it all together in your mind. You kind of forget some of the key things. All right, so now the Cup race, right? The Enjoy Illinois 300 presented by Ticket Smarter there at St. Louis with the Worldwide Technology Raceway. So this is the second year of running the Cup Series there. we saw Kyle Busch put together just an absolute flyer lap there in qualifying and get pole. Stage 1, we saw a caution on lap 2 when Reddick got spun off the nose of, goodness, it's spacing me. I had it just a minute ago. Got spun off the nose of somebody. Can't remember exactly who it was. So that set him back early. Then we saw a weather delay here for, an hour and a half, which was awesome timing because I was able to tune in and watch the great IndyCar race while this was under weather delay. Otherwise, I'd had to watch it after the Cup race. So that was fortunate enough there. Enjoyed a great IndyCar race and then waited for the weather delay. So it's kind of a good time. Also, one thing I want to note here too is why are IndyCar and NASCAR scheduling their races at the exact same time every damn Sunday? It's so annoying. It's like I'm so conflicted because it depends on the track NASCAR's at, but then it depends on, like, I'd rather watch the IndyCar race because of how entertaining it's been so far. It's a conflict of interest.
Yeah, it really is. And, IndyCar's been in this battle almost with themselves for the past 5, 6, 7 years about trying to gain viewership for their races. What are you thinking? This is step number 1. NASCAR is America's racing series. All right? They pull in 2, 3, 4 times the amount of viewers every weekend versus IndyCar, and you're gonna schedule a time right at the same freaking time, man. Put it at noon or something. You guys don't have 4-hour races, right? You guys don't have very rarely 3-hour races. Most of the time, it's 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And it's so I don't. Man, what are you doing?
Well, especially on Sundays, yeah, it's crazy because you'll watch the F1 race in the morning, and then there's like a 4-hour gap. And then you got the IndyCar and NASCAR at the same time. Why not just... NASCAR likes these late start times. Why don't they just move theirs up to right after the Formula 1 race at like 10 a.m.? Like my time. I guess that'd be noon Eastern. But yeah. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
It does make sense to me either.
But, well, so now after this delay, it was after the IndyCar race. It was literally right after the checker flag of the IndyCar race. The NASCAR race starts right back up. So it was great timing there. We saw Kyle Busch kind of dominate, pull away from Blaney there, win stage 1, dominant performance. Then we saw a crash on lap 54 with Michael McDowell getting turned by Chastain. As they like to say, he got Chastained. I don't think so. I think it was a racing incident, but I'm pretty pro Chastain because I just love what he does on the track. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think he got Chastained, or do you think it was just a racing incident?
I don't know. It was really early in the race. I don't think that Chastain should have been there. But also, Michael McDowell spun his tires on the restart. If you look at the replay there, you can see Chastain deliberately go underneath the 34. But not only did Chastain do that, he had Ty Gibbs right behind him. Ty Gibbs was thinking the same thing. So obviously, they saw something on track to warrant them moving underneath the 34, going into turn 1, and then chaos ensued. I'm split 50-50 on Chastain and racing incident, just because case number 1, it's too early in the race, but case number 2, McDowell spun his tires. And if you no longer go for the gap, you're no longer a racing driver.
Great point. Great point. All right, so after this incident puts McDowell to the back. After this incident, we saw Blaney take the lead here of the race and kind of control it for the next foreseeable future here. Looked like he was now the new dominant car. Then we had an incident here with Carson Hocevar with a brake failure. Kind of your first brake failure of the weekend. That's kind of what I would associate this race to, was just brake failures. So the first one happened with Hocevar here, running 16th at the time, which I want to talk about here now. We said at the beginning of the podcast last week, we had Hocevar driving the 7 for LaJoie in the 9. At one point in this race, I texted you, Tom, and I was like, how is Corey LaJoie in a Hendrick Motorsports car getting outran by Hocevar, a rookie, in his own car? And it's not even that he's outrunning him by a little bit. He was like 14 positions higher on the track than LaJoie here. I mean, Hocevar really just cemented himself as a superstar in NASCAR with this performance, regardless of the result. Great performance by Hocevar. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, the only thing that I'm just going to comment on is that Hendrick was very adamant that they missed their setup from the simulator. And whether that is a an actual, argument or not because of how good Larson finished. I mean, obviously Larson's team did a great job on adjusting to the track and being there at the end. But you didn't really see that with any of the other teams. I mean, where did William Byron finish?
Byron. So that was another thing I want to talk about later too. Yeah, Byron, I think he finished like 8th or 9th, I believe. So not great, but it was.
Oh, really?
It was self-inflicted, really, which we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah,
but my main point was that so Corey LaJoie is going to a brand new team to him, right? Going to a brand new team. They admit that they missed the setup, so now they're playing catch up. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster. You can't really expect someone to come in and not only just learn the program and the processes and, the steps he's going to have to take to, even get in the car to go race on a weekend. But now he's playing catch up while trying to do that at the same time. He would have been 110% better off just driving his own car. Absolutely. You would have seen Corey LaJoie in the top 20 all day long in that Spire car. Because of he already knows everything that happens there. His seat's already there. The processes he already knows. He's comfortable. You put a man into an uncomfortable situation while also missing the setup and then playing catch up all weekend. It's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I didn't really look at it like that. I like that observation. I guess I was just really disappointed. I expected so much out of him. Just an upgrade in equipment alone. I mean, it's not like he's jumping from an Indy car to a dragster or like a sprint car to a prototype. It's like it was like a switch and swap. It's like I guess I was just super disappointed.
I am too, man. I like I said in the last podcast, I had such high hopes, man. Like, it's come full circle. He's jumping in the 9 car, and he's going to be putting the 7 car in the wall for the win. But it just did not materialize.
Yeah, it didn't materialize. And I guess one thing I want to I kind of want to speculate on this. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm wishful thinking, but I have a feeling that Hendrick Motorsports is going to get an alliance here with Spire here in the next couple of years, maybe even next year, and they're going to give Spire the almost as equal equipment that they have, and kind of use Spire as a developmental program for them. And I think that they might want to tab Carson Hocevar to drive that 77 car there at Spire next year. I think he has earned or has at least shown that he maybe deserves an opportunity at the Cup level. I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there, but that's kind of my thought process when it comes to that. So,
yeah, I agree with that. We've seen how beneficial junior teams are in all sorts of motorsports. So, and you know what? Gibbs is doing it with Legacy now, starting next year. So, well, it's not really Gibbs, it's Toyota, but
same
thing.
Yeah, same.
But that would be an absolutely awesome direction to go in with Hendrick, I think.
Yeah, especially with NASCAR's going to handcuff you and make you only run 4 cars, and they got their 4 drivers locked up for the next decade, really. So
yeah, right.
I mean, what are they going to do with developmental? I mean, Josh Berry, they don't want. I mean, there's rumors that he's going to SHR, but I mean, wouldn't you want Josh Berry to stay under your banner and maybe put him in a Spire type car and give him the same equipment that you have at your 5, 9, 24, and 48 cars? I mean, it just seems like a smart choice if you're capped on cars count. So I don't know. That's just my opinion there. After this, we saw Blaney, like I said, pull away from Kyle Busch, win stage 2. Then after stage 2, we saw Byron take the lead off the pit road, led for a while until the race kind of flipped on its head there with about 66 to go. And we got a major storm brewing outside my window. So I'm sorry if you're picking up the thunder. It's pretty crazy out there. 66 laps to go. We saw Reddick have a brake failure. So this is your second brake failure here. It's kind of like Hocevar had it happen down the front stretch. Pedal went to the floor. You saw the rotor explode straight into the wall. I mean, just unfortunate. Battled back after that lap 2 spin, got back into contention in this race as his failure. Then we see a pit stop here. This was the first real change in strategy here. We saw Larson take the lead off the pit road on 2 tires, pulling a gamble over Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin and Blaney, who all took 4. They were kind of your 3 front runners there. And he was able to maintain it there until about 55 laps to go. So a few laps after the restart, Kyle Busch took the lead. And then it's something like caution after caution. You saw Gregson also have a brake failure. So we had a Chevy.
That was a nasty wreck.
Yeah, very nasty wreck. They didn't have a good footage of it, obviously, because their cameras or internet or whatever went down. Shout out to Fox. Shout out to Clint Boyer. If you guys need some great broadcasting help, contact us at the Dega Boys Broadcasting. We'll give you guys some help there and overcome your issues during this race. But I digress. So Gregson has this brake failure, nasty wreck, really shook him up. So that was your third brake failure here of the race. And then we saw a couple more cautions. We saw Stenhouse and Austin Dillon get wrecked with an incident there with Austin Cindric. A lot of debate on the internet about that. I'm sure you guys have heard enough. I don't really want to get into it because the way I look at it, it was a racing incident. So
I just want to say one thing. I'm pointing out a singular group of people. You Chase Elliott fans are the most ridiculous people I have ever met in my life. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that statement. Chase Elliott fans are ridiculous. But I digress again. We see another brake failure here with Bubba Wallace. So this is 4 brake failures, one race. 2 Toyotas, 2 Chevys. I don't know if it was... I don't really know what to point to this. I don't know if it's the track, the long straightaways, heavy brake, race is kind of like a road course. I don't know if it's maybe the heat dissipation. They kept saying it's because they keep restarting and going again, which, I mean, if that was the case, every car would have had that problem, not just those select 4. No. Could it be the teams being a little aggressive with brake pressures? I don't know. Just seems like a real interesting circumstance here with these many brake failures. And then we saw the final restart. Kyle Busch held off, 5-6 restarts here at the end. It just turned into a circus at the end, almost unwatchable, unfortunately, because it was such a great race up to this point. But Kyle Busch ends up winning, getting his 63rd career win, closing in ever closer to Dale Earnhardt with the 76 wins, which is his ultimate goal and why he likes racing for Childress. So I believe that he is setting himself up for a championship season. I said it in the offseason, and we talked about it again in the race driver grades video just a few weeks ago, that midway regular season grading. And I said I had these expectations of Kyle Busch winning 10 races this year. I felt like he was going to have a Kyle Larson 2021-esque season. And throughout the first half of the regular season, we only had those 2 wins. Wasn't looking promising. Gets his 3rd win here. And I'm still sticking with my preseason prediction of 10 wins. I think it's going to happen. I really do. I think he's going to keep winning races. What are your thoughts? You think this is that ain't happening, or you think this is like just kind of a fluky deal?
I think we're going to see a season that Kyle Busch had when he first started up with Joe Gibbs. I think I obviously we haven't seen that kind of esque yet, but I just think that I'm feeling that right now we are just about, we either right on the edge or we are just now seeing RCR turn up.
I don't know though. I think we saw RCR turn up 2 years ago. I mean, look what Reddick was doing in that car, and I think Kyle Busch is like a head over heels better talent than Tyler Reddick ever will be. So
I agree. But what I am saying is that we are either there or we're about to be there. We're about to see RCR just dump a crap ton of money into this team, or Kyle Busch is just now starting to figure out what he needs out of RCR to win more races.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I think that like what I see with him and his crew chief, I can't remember his name at this moment. I just had it in my head. I lost it. Randall Burnett. That's right. I think Burnett. It's like it reminds me of a Rodney Childers, Kevin Harvick 2014-esque combo right here. It's like they didn't start super on fire either, and then they just picked it up, and as the summer months came on, they just became the most dominant team in the Cup Series, and it lasted that way for a solid 5 years. I think that's what we're seeing here, the intro to that kind of kind of dynasty here with Kyle Busch.
Yep.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you want to add to the Cup race, or did we pretty much summarize everything to our ability here?
Yeah, it was a pretty good race. I thought there was lots of competition. I feel like every time we go to St. Louis, it's a great race. Definitely one of those I would put as one of those A-list tracks. I thoroughly enjoy racing there. We saw great action in the Truck Series. We saw great action in the Cup Series. Unfortunately, we did have some brake rotors blow up. But other than that, I still think it was pretty decent. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up perfect right there. There's nothing else I could really say to that. Alrighty, so now we're gonna go into our famous Sorry about that. I am so sorry about that. The storm out there is scaring the dog. Sorry about that. The driver of the week and bonehead of the week segments here. We have Reese Gold with his win in the Indy NXT Detroit Race 1 being nominated. We have Lance Stroll getting P6 in the F1 race at Spain. Great performance by him. And then I want to throw Michael McDowell up here. And hear me out on this one. Gets spun early, gets that damage, ends up playing crazy strategies, taking left side tires, taking right side tires, mixing up the bag of strategy. And then at the end there, for the last 6 restarts, was able to maintain a top 10 running position and ends up getting a P9 finish here. I hadn't picked him for my fantasy for like literally all season. And then the last 2 weeks I picked him, and he's just been my freaking my goat, getting me all my points. So Mike McDowell, P9, just awesome run.
Yeah, definitely deservable.
So we'll put that poll up after the podcast, and you guys can vote on that one. Also, the bonehead of the week here, we've got Connor Mosack sending Chandler Smith turn 1 at Portland in the Xfinity race. Just absolute lack of awareness, like we mentioned. Also, another send move from Henner McElroy to Louis Foster there in the Indy NXT race number 1. Just a terrible move there. Same lack of awareness there with him. And then also we got to put Graham Rahal wrecking under yellow in the IndyCar race there at Detroit. Just an absolute boneheaded move. No excuse for it. Absolutely ridiculous. He has met his end of his racing career.
I will give Graham Rahal one thing. He can probably, I'm going on a limb here, he can probably differentiate between turn 1 and turn 3.
All right. Oh man, about to make me die laughing over here, Tom. That's great. Some great content right there. That's some A1 stuff. All right, before we get into the previews of the races, I want to take a look real quick at the Cup points. I didn't go over it yet. Ryan Blaney now takes the points lead here at 495 points. William Byron's moved to second with 482. He's 13 back, and then Harvick at 473.22 back. And I looked at the point standings. I think the top 9 are all separated within like 60 points. So this is going to get really good through the summer months to decide who's going to win the regular season title. And then the cut line. And oh yeah, go.
I just want to point out, just 2 weeks ago we saw Chastain and Bell and was it Harvick or Truex?
It was Truex, yeah.
And now it's completely flipped. I mean, Chastain's now what, 6th in points?
Yeah.
Bell is like 8th or something like that. It's crazy. You know, it's just crazy how 3 races can really just turn around your points season like that.
Yeah, especially now getting into summer months, it's going to get wild too. Because
always
the championship seems to get figured out in the summer. That's when the best teams rise to the top. So, be very interesting. And then the cut line, Suarez moves back into the contention here in the points. He's 16th, 6 points above Alex Bowman, who is 17th in points. So, very interesting there on the cut line. And then you also have a couple other guys like McDowell and Gibbs are right on the cusp there as well. So, this battle for the points here is going to get exciting. With that being said, we're going to get straight into the previews for this weekend. There's only a handful of races, actually. There is the Xfinity and Cup Series there at Sonoma, and the centenary event of the World Endurance Championship, Round 4, the 24 hour of Le Mans. Super excited about it. We got a lot of content to cover there here in a moment. First off, though, we're going to go through the notable entries for this weekend. In the Xfinity Series, we got Ty Dillon in the number 4 JDM car, Suarez in the 07 SS Greenlight car, Allmendinger in the number 10 Colleague All-Star car, Larson's driving for Hendrick Motorsports in the number 17, Gibbs in the 19 JGR car, Almirola in the 28 Sieg Racing car, Josh Bilicki in the number 36 DGM car, Sage Karam in the number 44 Alpha Prime car, and Ross Chastain in the number 91 DGM car. In the Cup Series, we have notable entries. We got William Clyde Elliott Jr. is in the number 9 Hendrick Motorsports car. We got Zane Smith in the 38 Front Row Motorsports car. We got Todd Gilliland in the 51 Rick Ware Racing car, and Josh Bilicki in the 78 Live Fast car. And then in the World Endurance Championship, on the entry list, we got 16 hypercars, 24 LMP2 cars, and 21 LM GTE cars, as well as the NASCAR Garage 56 entry. So we'll do the NASCAR races first, do our picks, and then we'll get into the World Endurance Championship preview here, round 4, the 24-hour Le Mans. So the Xfinity Series, DoorDash 250 at Sonoma, the inaugural race there for the Xfinity Series. We and Tom cannot find an event that's happened there in the Xfinity in the past, so we believe this is the inaugural event here. My favorite for this weekend, I'm taking AJ Allmendinger to win this race in the Colleague All-Star car. This dude is just so dominant in the Xfinity Series. He should be a full-time Xfinity racer, in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with being the best as an Xfinity driver. My dark horse here, I'm going to take... Man, I didn't really put a lot of thought into this. I think I'm going to take Suarez in the SS Greenlight car. I don't know how good that car is going to be, and I just feel like he is not going to be a contender in this race, and so I think he's a long shot to win. So I'm going to take Suarez. Who do you got, Tom?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Larson. I think that he's got all the confidence in the world. He's going to jump in that Xfinity car. It doesn't matter really what car he jumps in, he's going to win. Normally, I would go for Allmendinger, but I feel like his confidence is a little killed at the moment. This could be a great confidence booster for him. I don't know. I'm not willing to play that in terms of wanting to freaking win something. So I'm going to go with Larson. And then for a dark horse, I'm just going to go with Ryan Sieg. Ryan Sieg just typically runs, top 15, top 10. He has his really good moments. With it being an inaugural race, I believe he's going to show up and he's going to be on a different level, and we're going to be seeing him running within top 8, top 7, possibly, could just back into a situation where, he's there at the end and pulls a Cole Custer.
Nice. That's a good pick right there. For the Sunday, the Cup race at Sonoma, the Toyota Save Mart 350, which we will be doing a live watch party here on this channel. It officially won the poll, so we will be doing the watch party for that race this weekend, so make sure to tune into that and stay up to date on our channel for that. But for our picks, my favorite for this weekend, who's going to win the race, is going to be Tyler Reddick. I think that Tyler Reddick is going to win this race in pretty dominant fashion. This guy is the new road course king, and I think he's going to do it again. He's just unstoppable right now on road courses. He's going to win the race. My dark horse for this weekend is Michael McDowell. I think that he is just on such a momentum ride right now. I think that he is going to do everything right, and he's going to be there in position at the end to potentially win this race, but I'm still thinking top 5 is very realistic for him. Who do you got?
Yeah, I got Tyler Reddick as well. It's undeniable how absolutely dominant he is with these road course races. We saw him winning at RCR. We've already saw him winning with 23XL. I mean, you could just expect that 45 car to be up front. You're crazy not to think so, in my opinion. But yeah, Tyler Reddick, absolute favorite. I think if anything, he's going to lead a lot of. So with that being said, my dark horse, I'm going with Zane Smith, man. I think that not only is Michael McDowell a great choice for a dark horse, Zane Smith coming out to be his teammate this weekend. He's got a lot to learn from Michael. Michael is a great teacher. He's going to be able to give a lot to Zane, and Zane's going to go out there and execute. And so that's why I'm choosing Zane Smith.
Yeah, we're both thinking on that front row thing right there.
Yeah.
I want to go to fantasy next. Before we get into the World Endurance Championship, kind of wrap up the whole NASCAR segment here. My picks this weekend, my 5-driver lineup, I'm taking Truex, McDowell, Elliott, Allmendinger, and Cindric. Who do you got?
Yeah, I got Suarez just because of his race win last year. He's got to have some sort of data to work off of. But then I've got McDowell for obvious reasons. I got Buescher just because he actually raced pretty good last year. I think he finished 6th here at this race. So definitely, I think it's a good pick. Ryan Blaney riding that momentum train, he's going to finish good, I believe. And then, of course, I'm going to go with Zane Smith.
Perfect. All right, now the matchups, we got Truex and Harvick. I am taking Truex because I think he's going to be a contender for this win this weekend. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to take Harvick over Truex. Now, Truex this year has obviously done a little bit better than last year, but Harvick had a very good finish here last year, even with some of the woes he had at SHR.
Perfect. The next one is Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott. This is a good matchup, although I am taking Tyler Reddick because I think he is going to win the race. That's just my opinion.
Yep, I'm going Reddick as well. Yeah, Reddick.
Alrighty, and then the next is Cindric and Gibbs. I think this is like the second or third week in a row these two have been matched up against each other. I am going to take Austin Cindric over Gibbs, and the only reason is because if I pick Gibbs, he's going to run terrible, and if I don't pick him, he'll run amazing. So I'm just going to go Cindric.
Then I'm going Gibbs because you're going to choose Cindric and he's going straight into the wall. So I'm going Ty Gibbs.
Alrighty. And then the next one is Allmendinger and Chastain. I'm taking Allmendinger over Chastain just because Chastain is kind of a loose cannon. He, last few weeks, his results have been just subpar to what they were at the beginning of the year. He's on such a tear, and it's really shown in the point standings. So I'm taking Allmendinger at a road course over Chastain.
I would choose Allmendinger. I just don't think that either A, his program's not there, or B, his confidence is shot just from coming to the Cup Series. I don't think the 16 is there yet. I think that the one car has a lot of speed over the course of the year, hasn't been able to capitalize, but I do think that the one car can capitalize this weekend.
Alrighty, so we got some different picks there. That's exciting. Alrighty, so now, Saturday, starting at 4 p.m. local French time, which would be 10 a.m. Eastern time, is the beginning of the World Endurance Championship centenary running of the 24-hour Le Mans, the 91st event that they've ran there for this event. This is round 4 of the World Endurance Championship around the famous course there of Le Mans. 38 turns of absolute mayhem and calamity. One of the very toughest races to win. Part of the Triple Crown there with the Indy 500, 10 Monaco Grand Prix, and the 24-hour of Le Mans. These are the races that you just want to win as a race car driver. I believe this is going to be an amazing event, especially through the nighttime. It's the most difficult part of the race. Driving through the nighttime there is very difficult, and the nighttime cycle lasts for a long time. So very challenging there, as if one mistake, your entire race is thrown away. Our favorites and dark horses for this event is going to be one to listen to for the hypercar, which this year is 16 entrances with 7 different manufacturers. For my favorite, I was going back and forth with this. Toyota won last year, the overall, which the hypercar divisions will be the overall winner this year. I was going back and forth in my head between Toyota, Ferrari, because they've been so fast through the first 3 rounds of World Endurance Championship. But my instinct just tells me that the Porsche 963 is with Penske here. The number 6 Porsche Penske entry, in particular with Estre, Latour, and Vanthroor, is going to win for hypercar. Who do you have winning hypercar? And the overall?
I am purely picking this because of what I believe is driver talent and skill. So I'm going to go with Cadillac. I'm going to go with the teams of Bourdais, Van der Zandt, and Dixon.
That's a great
Dixon.
lineup.
Dixon is an absolute legend in open wheel racing in America. You cannot deny his absolute pure raw talent that he has behind the wheel. Same with Van der Zandt, same with Bourdais. They all have absolutely amazing resumes when it comes to racing careers. And I think that they are going to project Cadillac to the front. I think, it's a 24-hour race. Anything's going to happen. But I think that these three drivers right here can overcome anything that gets thrown at them.
That's a great pick. I really wanted to pick them too, but with their devastating results so far this season through IMSA and the World Endurance Championship, I just couldn't pick them. I just couldn't. So now we'll pick our dark horses for Hypercar. I went back and forth on this. I wanted to go Peugeot, the French manufacturer, in the French Le Mans race. I just wanted to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take Action Express Racing, Whelen Cadillac, to win this, or to be my dark horse here for a podium finish, just because I'm a huge fan of Durrani, Sims, and Aiken there in that 3-1-1 Action Express Cadillac. I believe that they are going to do great things and potentially get a podium in this race. Who do you have as your dark horse?
Dark horse for overall, man, I don't know. It's definitely going to be Glickenhaus. And I think that I'm going to go with the team of Romain Dumas, Oliver Pla, and Ryan Briscoe. And I'm saying that because I think Ryan Briscoe is just an absolute Chad when it comes to driver profiles and being a leader on a team. If anything, Briscoe's going to be the one to project that team to finish good or anywhere good on that grid.
Perfect. That's a great pick. All right, now we'll do our LMP2 picks in dark horses. My pick to win in LMP2, I'm going with Team Jota. I think that they are just going to be way dominant in this race, is barring anything going wrong, right? These are picks based upon how we feel like they're going to do. But like Tom said, 24-hour race, anything can happen. I'm going with Team Jota. Their lineup with Heinemeyer, with Rasmussen, and Fittipaldi is just absolute dominant lineup here in LMP2, and they've been so fast. They at any of the other World Endurance races so far this year. I think that they are going to take the crown in LMP2. Who do you have in LMP2?
Yeah, so I'm purely going off of this because I think that the people from this country, they're phenomenal race car drivers. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Alpine Elf Team with the drivers of, excuse me if I butcher this, but Valsiver, Malesi, and Canal. All French lineup, French manufacturer. I mean, you can't get more than an absolute dream team in LMP2. We usually see the French as the first people to wave the white flag, but not in racing. Not in racing. No, sir. These guys are going to pull something out, and I have a very good feeling.
Awesome. Okay. Well, now we're going to do our dark horses. For my dark horse, I'm taking Prima Racing's number 63 there with Pin, Kvyat, and Bortolotti there. I think that they are going to be your dark horse here in LMP2 for maybe a potential podium if everything goes right. And I mean, every driver on there is pretty much a dark horse in anything they've ever driven. So I feel like this is a good pick for a dark horse. Who do you got for your dark horse?
Yeah, for my dark horse, I've got Team WRT. These are with the drivers of Rui Andrade, Louis Delatraz, and Robert Kubica. Legends, right? Robert Kubica still has some issues with his hand, but he proved it in F1 that he came back for a season with Williams. He did the job. He did a great job in a very struggling car. That is absolutely something to remember whenever Robert gets back into the car, is his time back in F1. He worked his way back up to the top. But not only do we have Robert Kubica, we have Louis Delatraz. That man is an absolute flyer as well. I mean, it also says that he's a gold star driver. I don't agree with that. I just want to throw that out there. But anyways, these really just this team with Rui Andre, these guys have an absolutely awesome opportunity with Team WRT to come out and do something and turn some heads. I think this is the team to do it.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I just want to honorable mention, since neither of us took them, I just want to honorable mention Algarve Pro Racing there with George Kurtz, James Allen, and Colin Braun. I think that team is going to definitely be on a podium as long as everything goes right. So that's just a shout out there. Alrighty, now for LMGTE here, my favorite is going to be the Richard Mille AF Course Ferrari, the number 83. They won the 6 hours at Spa with Luis Perez, Alessio Rovera, and Lilu Wado, which is a female driver, and I believe that they are going to win here in the 24-hour Le Mans as well. So who do you got as your favorite?
Yeah, that's a great choice right there, actually. But I'm going to go with GMB Motorsport. They've got Birch, Sorensen, and Moeller. All Danish lineup, Danish manufacturer. I'm doing the same thing as I did with LMP2 with the French. This time, just going with the Danish. I think that it's, again, a dream team for the Danish citizens. I just think that is so cool to have. Not only, like if we had Cadillac, right, going to the race weekend, but then we got we got Alexander Rossi, we got Logan Sargent, and then we got Joseph Newgarden. That would be so awesome. Like, I am sincerely jealous of the French and Danish people or citizens right now, because I would be sitting there, with my foam finger and my red, white, and blue cowboy hat with a freaking bush light in my hand watching the Le Mans 24 hours. But that's why I'm choosing them. I think it's pretty cool that they have this opportunity. I think they're going to make the most of this opportunity and get a good result. I think that's my favorite. Yeah.
Alrighty, and now our dark horse in this series, or in the GTE, I'm going to go with the Iron Dames team here. It's an all-female driver lineup, which is extremely rare. They ran really good at Spa. They outperformed what I think any of the expectations were. This team is a definite long shot in general. And then the overbearing thought that it's an all-female driver lineup, so that even adds another layer of long shot to them. I believe that if everything goes right, at the end of the day, we might just look up at the scoreboard on June 11th at 4 p.m. Local time there in France, and we're going to see the Iron Danes on the podium. Just a long shot choice there for me. I'd love to see it. It'd be a great storyline. So, who do you got?
Yeah, I got the same people. I mean, for the same exact reasons. We do not see this in any sort of WEC, IMSA, FIA racing. An all-woman lineup. I think that's great. I hope they can put on an amazing show, that they can last that 24 hours and be there at the end to get a great finish for the Iron Dames and their Porsche 911.
That would be just awesome. Imagine that.
It really would be.
Especially
it really would be.
all the storylines that we're getting out of the 24-hour Le Mans. It's insane. I mean, this is going to be an awesome race. Just a packed hypercar field, just a packed LMP2 field, packed GT field. Some of the greatest drivers in the world piloting these machines, and the most demanding race of the year. Just excitement.
I want to add one more aspect to this. With the innovative car, the Garage 56, the 24 stock car that's showing up to Le Mans this weekend. So out of the drivers, Jimmy Johnson, Mike Rockenfeller, and Jenson Button, who do you think is going to wreck the car first?
His name rhymes with Mimi Onsen, I think, is the guy I would predict to wreck the car. I mean, they better have like 3 cars, because I feel like if he has 3 stints, he'll wreck all 3 stints. He's like we mentioned with Graham Rahal. He's well beyond his driving years, and it's sad. It's really sad to see, and if I'm Jensen Button and Mike Rockenfeller, I'm like maybe trying to figure out how I can get a longer stint, you know?
Well, he's been a part of 3 races this year in the Cup Series and DNF'd out of all of them. You'd be crazy not to think that it'd be Jimmy Johnson making the wall making it his own. Well, he'll get a name. He'll get a corner named after him after this race.
Yeah, right. They'll put one of those bus stop chicanes and they'll name it the Johnson Corner. Yeah, I think they were talking to the head of this department there at Hendrick Motorsports, and they were asking her who was the faster driver out of them, and she wouldn't say. And LaJoy was actually asking, like, is it maybe Jimmy Johnson, Mike Rockenfeller? And she just went silent with this look on her face where you just knew it wasn't Jimmy Johnson, or she would have said it. So just let's hope that they've got enough equipment and parts where they can get it back out there to finish, because they're not racing anybody. This is just an experiment, a test. So their main goal should be to finish the race. They already won the pit stop challenge, exceeded all the expectations already. As long as they can finish 24 hours with a clean race car, I think that the mission would be accomplished. So that's exciting. Alrighty, I think that pretty much summarizes the Le Mans 24-hour race here. The centenary event, just a big event to witness. Everybody should tune in. This is pretty much the culmination of all of motorsports in the world here. Must-see event. Super excited about it. We'll have a lot to cover next week with our review of this race. Alrighty, so now we'll get into the final segment here, the Radioactive of the Week, and then we'll sign off and get you guys out of here. Appreciate you guys for coming in. Our Radioactive of the Week, and I quote, is, I need a blank fly swatter. If you can guess which driver said that quote in the comment section of the poll after the podcast, you will get a shout out in next week's episode 20 of the Full Send Half Mast podcast. Alrighty, so this pretty much concludes this episode 19 of the Full Send Half Mast podcast. I want to also bring up again that this Sunday we will be doing a watch party for the Sonoma Cup Series race. So come in, enjoy the race with us. We can't show the race on YouTube, obviously, for copyright issues, but we'll have our webcams on. We'll have the live chat open. We'll communicate, talk with you. We'll kind of watch the race together. We'll give you our thoughts live. Just come out and hang out. Chat with us. The chat will be open. We'll be responsive. We'll just be shooting it, kind of just chilling, hanging out with the boys. It'll be kind of like watching a race with us live. If you were to be with us there on the couch when we watch them every weekend. So you guys voted on it. That's the race you guys wanted to see. So just come out and enjoy it with us. We're going to be super excited to have you guys there. And hopefully get some great clippable content out of that. So this is something we're going to be doing once a month. And this is the one that won this month. So come and check that out. Also, we're going to be previewing all of next week's races. After Le Mans, it kind of picks back up. This is kind of the lull in the mid-season because the whole focus is on Le Mans. So make sure to stay tuned for all of the races coming up for the week of the 18th. I'll pass it over to Tom so you can talk about the NSR stuff as well as our big event coming up here at the end of this month.
Yeah, so, we are, again, wanting to bring up the Nexus Sim Racing 499 with the 1987 Cup cars. So, excuse me, I apologize. June 24th at noon, we will be racing 499 miles around Talladega with these 1987 Cup cars. These guys, we've almost got a full entry list with this race coming up. It's going to be a great time. We are also looking for anybody who wants to sponsor. Put your name out there. Any type of help that you give us will be projected onto the broadcast in any way that you like. We want to help promote this channel. We want to help promote Nexus. And moving forward, probably putting on some more events, more bigger events to get out and reach out to everybody out there who likes this type of racing. We are currently accepting anybody who wants to come and do any type of awards. You can come up with the award, put down, a cash prize. You can put down a material prize. You can do anything that you want. We're just looking for those people. We have got a couple of people looking to come out and sponsor a little bit. Those details will be coming soon. If you guys want any information, just make sure you guys either contact us on this page, in the comment sections. You guys can even email us straight directly through YouTube. So make sure you guys come out and not only watch that $4.99, but come out and watch all the other leagues that we are broadcasting with the Nexus Sim Racing League, and join in on the fun there. And comment, interact with us. We love interacting with you guys. It makes the job really fun. So make sure you guys come out. Make sure you guys get some information in. We'd love to hear from you.
Also, tell them about Thursday, new series starting up.
Oh yeah, we've got a short track league coming this Thursday, straight to your guys' TV screens, handheld devices, computer monitors, wherever it may be. We are starting to stream on Thursdays. We are very excited to bring some very good short track racing to you guys. This includes heats. We got heats and mains. It's going to be very fun. Very fun. We're doing inverted fields. We're doing everything we can to make this racing exciting for you guys. I am really excited for Thursday.
Yeah, me too. Some of the best short tracks on all of iRacing and in the country getting to be showcased. Great talent, best iRacers in the business, as always in the Nexus Sim Racing. Super excited about that. Make sure to stay up to date. Go check out all of our polls that will be up after this podcast. Make sure to go and look at all the videos on our YouTube channel. Lots of great content for whatever you're looking for. You will find it. Our library is thick. With that being said, I just want to say thank you, Tom, for coming out and doing this podcast again here tonight. Really enjoyed talking racing, giving everybody a great perspective of this weekend and last weekend. And also make sure to tune in to the 24-hour Le Mans. You don't want to miss it. And this has been the Full Send Half Mast Podcast, episode 19. And we are signing off. Enjoy the $4.99 commercial.
The best iRacers in the business.
When we got stakes for real, we looking out for the opposition. We don't do this for match appeal. Don't make me blast it still. I put in work, no Vladimir. They want me to lose, but I can't. Mama shed like 1,000 tears. I can't do that shit to waste. I pull up in Mercedes. Next year you gon' see me pull up in the race.
This is gonna create fantastic racing.
When I was down bad, boy, I got on my knees and I started to pray. Now I'm breaking bread with my young vet wins. You was a part of the game. No, now we getting paid every single day. Yeah, I was hustling. I can turn an 8 to a 28. Let me show you. 12, they can kiss my ass. Yeah, see them lights, but you know I got the strap. Go right up, now we getting paid every single day. Yeah, I was hustling. I can turn an 8 to a 28. Let me show you. 12, they can kiss my ass. Yeah, see them lights, but you know I got the strap. Go right, I push the.
He refuses to lose.
I do the dash, on my way to the bag, boy, you know I push the gas.
Yeah, okay, my timing is critical. They know my rhyming is pivotal. Homie, the dash is digital, gas residual. Fire and smoke like I'm leading a ritual. You bet my cash is long. I hit the gas, I'm gone. Riding my wave. I've been stuck in my zone. I bet I blast them all. Sliding on fate. I've been out finding my ways. Grinding for days. I've been out shining the hate. All of y'all wanted for praise. Stuck in a phase. Let it and turn it ablaze. Yeah, homie, you don't wanna race. Nah, better to stick to your place. Yeah, want it all, I gotta taste. You push on the pedal, now I gotta skate. Yeah, all I ever know. Put me on this throne. Pinnacle. Push my buttons and that motherfucker go. What you know, what you own. Push it and I zone. Sonic booms for the room. Running till the tomb with my goons. Motherfucking fumes. Y'all know what it do with the crew when we coming through. Y'all better move, make it fast. Ain't no second chance coming for your ass.
iRacing Top 10, here he comes.
Push the gas like.
on my way to the bag, boy, you know I push the gas.
Showtime!